This episode is brought to you by Bumble, who says Valentine's Day is just for couples. Just because you're not in a relationship doesn't mean you can't get out there and live your best love life. That's where Bumble comes in. This February 14th, you can flip the script and give those relationshipers a friendly dose of FOMO. Say no to staying in this Valentine's Day and yes to more. More dates, more first kisses, more gossip for the group chat girlies. Do Valentine's your way. Date now on Bumble.
Why take one vacation with the family when you could take all of them? With Royal Caribbean, you don't just go to the beach. You visit a private island and race down the tallest water slide in North America. You don't just go for a road trip. You ATV and zip line through the jungle. You don't just go somewhere new. You rappel down waterfalls and discover ancient temples. Because this isn't just any vacation. This is all the vacations. Come seek the Royal Caribbean. Ships Registry, Bahamas.
All right, Joe. I've got a theory about this episode.
What is your theory?
My theory is that I had a lot of fun with this episode because it was a low-stakes, drama-free episode, which probably means that you absolutely were bored to tears by this episode.
I mean, like, I wasn't not bored, but like, we have been here for 4 seasons already, right? Like,
Yes. They're just... But here's the thing. So, have you ever watched Parenthood?
like with the Braverman's Parenthood?
Yes.
No, I have not.
Okay. So I just finished watching the entire second season over the last 2 days. And this episode reminds me of an episode of Parenthood. And the reason why is thus. Parenthood fits into this category that I think early Gilmore Girls fit into as well, where the episodes always feel like the stakes are high and dire, but then by the end, it's all like, no, like whereas when I'm watching the OC, I'm constantly like, all right, someone's going to get in a car accident. Someone's going to get shot. Something like
Yeah.
I'm waiting for something huge to happen. This one, like Parenthood, it's like there's always a threat that something could go wrong, and it always works out all right for everybody in the end. Like it's like a feel good, wholesome show. And after all of the Oliver stuff, after all of the Eddie and Teresa stuff, I needed another one of these good, dumb, worthless episodes. Is it as good as the Rooney episode? Not even close. But I found this episode to be a genuine romp. Romp would be the word I would use to describe it.
Okay. I mean, is it a romp in the sense that, like, it had the zaniness of a Daniel Palladino directed episode, right? Like, it's very like, let's make a restaurant and like, let's go save a stripper.
I literally wrote down, I said, this is such a low stakes, goofy episode. And like, but I meant that in the best kind of way because I needed that. I needed it to be like a, let's build the restaurant. Like, let's go to a Hollywood party. Like,
Sure.
Luke doing like a borderline Laurel and Hardy, Abbott and Costello, Three Stooges routine, trying to break up with Julie Cooper. Like I needed all of that stress free after everything that's come before it. Now, obviously, we're setting up more pieces because there's still 5 more episodes after this to get us to the end. So we need more drama.
I much prefer the episode after this, which is like,
okay,
so just throwing that out there, but I much prefer the episode after this.
Okay, I will keep that in mind for the next time we record. I'll say this is one of Joe's absolute favorites. Um, but something that doesn't happen very often on the OC, this like literally picks up where the last one left off pretty much to the minute. Like
Yep.
we are starting this episode with Ryan and Seth walking home from the airport, going to the hotel to visit Teresa, and on their way, they catch Luke and Julie in the act, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
They learn the filthy, filthy secret of what's going on there.
The other
That's when
secret involving Luke.
and that's when they sit down, like Ryan like pulls Luke aside and is just like, "Hey, I like you, and I don't want to beat you up all the time like I did the first 6 episodes of this TV show, but what the fuck are you doing? Like literally what are you doing? How has it not dawned on you that this will literally destroy Marissa? like
Yeah.
like get it together. I will find an excuse, any excuse to get Marissa out of Newport Beach. You have 24 hours to like call this shit off before
Yeah.
you hurt our friend. And that gives us like the wacky episode of Luke trying to dump Julie Cooper. It's so goofy. It's so goofy. He's hiding in bushes, knocking on windows. Like it's
Yeah.
insane.
It's like, did Neil Simon write his parts?
It is a literal screwball comedy that you're watching as like Luke is trying to figure out how to get through all this shit. And I love that there's a hickey joke in there. He gave Julie Cooper a hickey that she tries to claim as a curling iron burn.
Yeah.
Caleb, meanwhile, is trying to reconnect with Julie and take her on a date.
Yeah.
There's so many moving pieces there. And then we get to the end, and the most unrealistic moment to move a plot forward is Luke just storming into the pool house and saying, "All right, I broke up with Julie Cooper," at the top of his lungs. Like,
It is moments like that from film and television that you will never, ever catch me doing that amateur bullshit.
yeah.
Like, look around. I mean, even if you think you were safe, like, you know what? Because again, also that's probably like gay trauma, right? Of like being afraid to out yourself. So let's just name that and call that what it is. But like, it's so like low stakes potatoes, and also like Ryan could have done a lot better. Like, you know what I mean? Like at that point, you also I kind of have to blame Ryan because he could have been like, Marissa's here.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter to a certain extent. When Luke walks in, I didn't think he was going to name the crime in his conversation. I was like, he'll walk in and be like, "It's done." And then Marissa will be like, "Oh, what's done?" I didn't think he was
Yeah.
just going to fucking give the details of the plot in in dialogue like out the gate. Also, like Ryan Atwood, a dude whose pool house is very rarely just filled with Ryan Atwood at any given moment. There's always
Yeah.
a Seth Cohen in there, or a Marissa, or someone looking for somebody showing up. A Haley is in there. Like,
Mercifully, well, maybe not mercifully, but like unfortunately, usually when Ryan is alone, he like is in a very state of undress, right? Like he's only got his, I've recently heard it called a wife pleaser. It's called he's in his wife pleaser shirt.
that's what I'm going to refer to it as, because I'm like, I guess tank top.
The tank top, the U shirt,
Yeah.
I've heard U shirt.
No, wife pleaser. That's
Yes.
I'm using that from here on out.
I was like, it was like feminist black TikTok that I was like watching a video on, and I was like, he's all wearing his wife pleaser shirt, and in my mind, I'm like, if my man wore that, I hope I'd be wanting to be the wife that he was pleasing. That's all I'm saying.
I told someone the other day, because I was wearing a wife pleaser underneath my shirt that I was wearing for Easter. But I came home and it was real hot, so I like took off the Easter shirt, still kept the wife pleaser on, and then I put on a pair of gym shorts. And I was texting somebody, and they were describing how they were dressed that day, and I responded with, "Well, I'm currently dressed like I quit drinking Bud Light because Kid Rock asked me to
Yeah.
stop." So, like, like, so that's what I
I
think
feel
about
like
the
I
wife
shouldn't
pleaser.
ask, but like, is that something that Kid Rock? I hope you don't know for sure. That means you don't follow Kid Rock. But like, did he actually ask people to stop? I know the whole Bud Light situation, but like, is
Oh, within minutes of it being announced, he used Bud Light as he was shooting a gun at Bud Light, saying, "This is what I think about the new Bud Light cans." Just a quick reminder, all of our listeners out there: Kid Rock lived a life of privilege as a very rich man in the richest area of Michigan. So don't buy the like white trash kid from the burbs part. The only thing that's true is the kid from the
yeah.
burbs. All right, but that's kind of it for the Luke and Julie stuff is pretty back burner. Let's go with a little bit of the Jimmy, Sandy, Caleb, Kirsten side of things. Caleb and Jimmy are not doing anything. Jimmy and Sandy are trying to get their restaurant open. They realize that there's money that they need that they do not have. Kirsten's like, well, there's someone who could get you that money. Or Julie is actually the one that suggests there's someone who can invest in this. And Sandy's completely against it. Jimmy thinks that they don't really have a choice.
The Dark Lord once again
Yes.
rears his ugly head. But he's also just so clueless too, right? It's so interesting that's like the show wants you to believe that Caleb Nickel is simultaneously this like greasy Donald Trump of Newport Beach, but also like a bumbling idiot who can't like get a woman to suck his dick. You know what I mean? Like it's a whole thing.
So there is a line that I enjoyed a little bit. Jimmy is trying his best to be a good dude in this whole situation. And as the conversation's getting weird, he keeps saying he's going to his happy place. And then as Julie throws more insults on him, he just goes, "My happy place is not very happy right now."
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
is a pretty solid line. But they agree to cater a dinner with a bunch of rich folks from the Newport area to convince them to help invest in this restaurant. I love that the way they're pitching this is that this singular restaurant will change the landscape of Newport Beach. Celebrities will suddenly storm back to their shores just to get some food from the lighthouse. It's absurd. It's like super absurd. But it makes me really love Sandy and Jimmy's friendship. And I understand that Jimmy runs off for different reasons that we will get into in a moment, but there's still that moment where him and Sandy are having a conversation in the kitchen about what to do because Caleb is throwing a lot of demands on how to change things and like, oh, we need to have fancier food for these people. The meatloaf just won't do, blah, 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 blah. And at the time when it's just Sandy and Jimmy alone, Jimmy is like, man, we don't have a choice. Like, this is the only choice we have to make. And Sandy's like, I'd rather have nothing than this scenario. Then Caleb comes in and starts to make fun of the meatloaf. And that is around the point where Jimmy basically just parrots exactly what Sandy has said earlier and storms off. Caleb makes a comment along the lines of like, I can't believe your partner ran out on you. And he says something along the lines of like, he didn't run out on me. That's why he's my partner or something like that. Like, it's a very sweet line that just reminds me that I really do love the friendship that they have now kind of firmly built with Sandy and Jimmy from the beginnings of this season to where we're at right now. I will give you credit. I fought you on this tooth and nail, the same way that I fought with people about Game of Thrones and was proven wrong. OC has done a fantastic job of really winning me over and giving me redemption arcs with characters that I found completely irredeemable in early episodes. So there's still hope for Julie Cooper. Similar to how this episode ended, and I said, oh, maybe there is hope for Caleb too. Like,
Yeah. I appreciate that, Matt. We are playing the long game with Julie Cooper, though. We are playing the long game. We're playing Negan lives and gets a spin-off game. Like, that's what we're playing
Gotcha. Okay.
with
Okay.
Julie Cooper.
Good to know. The last thing I want to say about the adults is Luke breaks up with Julie Cooper. And what does Julie Cooper do pretty much immediately upon being dumped?
Yeah.
Busts out that phone to get a date with Caleb.
But can I just say, my girl Julie, which, like, yes, she is not her best. She's not living her best life right now. To me, you know, as if I was her sister, I'd be like, girl, you're fucking up. But for her to be like, plan the ideal date, text him the details, and we'll see. Like, that's a fucking boss move. And
no, that is no. I'm not even mocking her at that point. She still stayed true to herself on that phone call, which I appreciate it. Now let's go with the kids, right? So Summer and Marissa have a random run-in with one of the stars of The Valley, the show within the show.
Yes,
and it took me way too long to pinpoint that was Colin Hanks, but Colin Hanks, I just need to give a quick shout out, is such an underappreciated actor. He is like, Colin Hanks is living the career that his father would have had if Forrest Gump and Philadelphia didn't happen. You know what I mean? Like, just wacky sex comedies, goofy roles, like, because Tom Hanks has done so many dramatic roles at this point that I think people of our age, and definitely people younger than our age, forget that, like, he had impeccable comic timing as like the leading role in many comedies, like Bachelor Party, Money Pit, Big. Like, he really had a skill set for that, and he still uses it in dramatic roles, sometimes unintentionally, Elvis, but like Colin Hanks has done a wonderful job of picking up that position of being the wacky Hanks that we love, as opposed to the other Hanks son, who's the wacky Hanks that we pretend doesn't exist anymore. But just need to get that praise in there. He invites Summer to his birthday party in LA, and this becomes the perfect way for Ryan to get Marissa out of the house. Seth wants to go because he's afraid that Summer will be seduced by this celebrity, because of course Seth Cohen has to make it about himself.
Yep.
They're driving to this event, and one of the first things that I thought was, it is weird to me that Summer is so knowledgeable about Lord of the Rings. She is like dropping some deep Lord of the Rings references that make zero sense, again, to the character that I knew in episodes 1 through 10. But then we get to this party, and there is so many weird but funny, like, mocking the Hollywood elite at this point. I love the line where they're talking about, yeah, we're going to remake the Golden Girls, but make them young and hot. Like, completely just missing the Golden Girls. Later on, he takes Summer to his car to show him footage from an unreleased episode of The Valley, and when it cuts back into the car, she goes, I can't believe we're just watching your dailies.
It's the most, like, asshole. I don't know. We know people who do this for a living, right? Who make TV and stuff for a living. So it's like, when I personally hate it when things get self-referential, but like, for its time period, I'm like, because like, people watching this are not going to know what dailies are, you know? Like, I think maybe now probably a little bit more, but like, not then. So like, it's just oh my God.
But then we get this twist, and this is the biggest sore subject for me in this one, is we get this twist that Haley is now a stripper at this party. And it's fine for what it is. And like, admittedly, I produce a lot of podcasts for a lot of sex workers. I'm friends with people who are strippers. And maybe that's why I've become sensitive to this, but I am just so tired of the narrative of like, oh, well, if someone's a stripper, they must be just having a sad, tortured, miserable life, when it's like, you know what, there's plenty of people who absolutely fucking love doing that work.
Yeah.
They are thrilled to go up there on that stage, and they put in a lot of work in their craft, and like are probably in better shape than any person that is sitting there wondering what a sad, pathetic life they might be living.
And she's probably making stacks on stacks on stacks.
100%. She even says that. She's like, I'm making great money. But then it does turn, like, that's the thing. It's like, it's the same thing with, like, you know, the Pretty Woman is a little bit different. It's definitely a different time period when Pretty Woman is happening. But, like, it's just that there is such a stigma of, like, the only way that anyone would ever choose prostitution, choose stripping, choose to do adult film work would be from an absolute point of desperation and a low self-image, and they must be addicted to drugs, and this is their like all these terrible things. It's like, or they just really like doing that work, and it gives them fulfillment. Like, you know, there's a million and one things. Check out a few of the shows that I work on, specifically Sage Advice with Sin Sage. It will really make you think twice about how you perceive people who do sex work, is all I'll say. But that was like the biggest strike for me in this episode, was like, I ain't loving this narrative that we're putting out in this episode.
Yeah, it's like, sex work is work.
Yeah. Now, seeing your aunt strip is probably weird. I get that.
But like, also just they make it seem as if, like, you know, they just rescued her from, like, you know, Russian bloc like sex trafficking, like, which is it's definitely not. Her boss is doing his job of making sure that, like, people are paying, and she's dancing because that's what she's getting paid to do.
Yeah.
Now
I do love Jimmy's insult on her boss, though, when they're outside the club, and it's like, you know, oh, what are you, bunch of kids? Oh, daddy. Oh, you're gonna call for your dad? And he's like, well, at least you're not the same age as me, but acting like you're 25, which is like, well done, well placed insult there.
Honestly,
also a little hurtful,
slay.
But it's hard to talk about an episode like this, though. I agree, because especially coming off of like last week's episode, where it's like you're seeing what could potentially be the wrap up of the Eddie Teresa story. I'm sure that there's going to be more, but at the time, that's what it seems like. You're seeing what seems to be the end of the Anna Seth story. Like there's all these things that you've invested episodes in, even if it's just 3 episodes, you've invested some type of time and storytelling into. This one is literally like the monster of the week episode. Like, it's just like, the gang goes on an adventure. This could be an Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode for all I know. Like, it's just
yes,
like
the gang goes to LA.
Yeah, like, you know, like it's very. Oh, you know what? Oh my God, we missed the most important thing: the bizarre Paris Hilton not playing Paris Hilton cameo.
I for a minute I thought we were watching that episode of Supernatural that Paris Hilton's in, because she looks exactly the same.
Well, there was only one look that Paris Hilton was doing back then, for sure. I actually, when she was talking to Adam Brody, I was like, ooh, it's the Hottie or the Naughty. I remember this movie. This was definitely at that prime time where we were all invested in the real life with Paris and Nicole. Like, she was everywhere. She was the it girl for a little bit. And like, it is so interesting now, again, to almost to swing back to the sex work conversation, right? Like, how much shit did we give her? Did we give Nicole Richie? And then it's like, you look at them in 2023 and it's like, these are smart business women who, I'm pretty sure on both accounts, both of them do an intense amount of humanitarian work with the money that they make. You know what I mean? But like, because if you think that we're misogynistic in 2023, go and just visit what 2001 was like, because these girls were nothing but quote unquote dumb sluts or privileged brats. Like,
I don't even think we were calling them privileged. I think we were just calling them dumb.
Yeah. Like, it was just like, we were vicious back then. And I say we, including myself in that category. That was just acceptable ways to talk about people who did reality television shows like the real world or the real life or the surreal life or any of those types of shows. And
Yeah.
it's fucked. It's tough to deal with. I remember my friend Ashley talking about, hey, if you want to pretend that homophobia was gone in the 2000s, watch a season of The Mole. Like
Ah,
like you will be floored by the way that people talk to each other in the early 2000s when we were well past knowing what words we should and should not be saying on a regular
yep.
basis. But she did a fine job for what she was there to do. She showed up, she delivered the line, she flirted with Seth Cohen for a little bit, and then she was out of there. No notes, no complaints. Is she the greatest actress that's ever walked onto the stage of the OC? No, because she's not a fucking actress. She, she's a personality that they just put in front of the camera, and
Yeah.
I'm sure
Yeah.
that was the only thing they advertised when this episode was coming out was Paris Hilton shows up on the OC.
Yep. Also, but she was right though. The writers were right. The selfie, you didn't call it a selfie, right? The
Yeah.
picture phone is the autograph of the future.
Yeah, she was dead on. She was dead right on that. That was a good prediction.
This episode is brought to you by Bumble, who says Valentine's Day is just for couples. Just because you're not in a relationship doesn't mean you can't get out there and live your best love life. That's where Bumble comes in. This February 14th, you can flip the script and give those relationshipers a friendly dose of FOMO. Say no to staying in this Valentine's Day and yes to more. More dates, more first kisses, more gossip for the group chat girlies. Do Valentine's your way. Date now on Bumble.
Why take one vacation with the family when you could take all of them? With Royal Caribbean, you don't just go to the beach. You visit a private island and race down the tallest water slide in North America. You don't just go for a road trip. You ATV and zip line through the jungle. You don't just go somewhere new. You rappel down waterfalls and discover ancient temples. Because this isn't just any vacation. This is all the vacations. Come seek the Royal Caribbean. Ships Registry, Bahamas.
We're making an ad.
Napping
Yeah.
ad.
I hear that Gary Sinise is free.
Oh, okay, great.
He hasn't worked since 2020.
So, what would be the script that we would have Gary Sinise say for the Napping Through Happy Hour podcast?
Listen to this damn show. Damn it.
The Napping Through Happy Hour podcast brought to you by Geekscape.
Real life, real drama, real time.
I'm Gary Sinise.
That's the
That's
ad.
the ad.
That's the ad. That's the ad.
That brings us to an end. We can talk about some music though, Joe, because man, this is another one with a lot of. Anytime that they're at a club, man, is there a lot of extra music that we have to sift through?
I know you're gonna have to remind me as you.
All right, so here we go.
This will be my refresher.
So there was Ride by the Vines that plays when Seth and Ryan catch Luke and Julie. There was How Good Can It Be by the 88s, which plays when they're stuck in traffic heading into LA. Born Too Slow by the Crystal Method is what plays when Luke and Julie Cooper start to fuck again. And then it also is just as Ryan notices Haley. Then it cuts to a commercial break. When it comes back from that commercial break, it's now the Secret Machines. The road leads us where it's led, where Ryan is talking to Haley. To Get Down by Timo Maas plays when Seth recognizes Haley. Get It Crunk by KB Dub plays when Ryan and Marissa sneak back into the club through the VIP entrance. All the Bands by the Plus Ones is Grady's band that he makes Summer listen to in his car. And then lastly, Out of LA by Jude plays when they're leaving LA, walking across the Walk of Fame. So, Joe, this is one of the toughest ones because none of these are very noteworthy or memorable to me.
No,
But if you had to pick a song from the episode, what would it be?
so the cop out answer is like the last song, right? Because it
Yeah.
is a perfect one. It's a perfect song. Not only the music, but just like how it is set in the scene. But just for the comedy of it all, I'm gonna go with Grady's Band.
I wrote them down. Well, because I think that song sincerely isn't bad. Like, it's not good, but it's not
Yeah.
a bad song. it was good to me. It's like it has to be that song, or it has to be the very first one, the song "Ride" kicking in when they see Luke and Julie
Yeah.
making out. Like
Yeah.
those are the only two ones that even remotely stuck out to me,
Yeah.
because so much of these songs are just like background noise. Like
Yeah.
it's just like mixed into dialogue. But
Which
yeah, I
also,
mean,
just a little quick thing because we didn't get to it, but like when Summer and Grady get caught in the van, her what she says to the actress is like, aren't you guys dating? Isn't that gonna like ruin the show if you guys
oh my
break
god,
up?
isn't that what happened on the set of the OC?
I mean, it didn't ruin the show, but they were dating. Like Rachel Bilson and I think Adam Brody were dating at the time.
Yeah, that's always messy. That's always messy.
Yeah. She, I think,
Um,
would go on to maybe, I don't know if she married him, but she definitely would go on to date um, Hayden Christensen when they were on Jumper together.
wow. I mean, look, right now, one of my favorite shows on Disney Plus, High School Musical, the series, Olivia Rodrigo, no longer on that show. I mean, her star was certainly starting to rise,
Yeah.
but also I'm sure being on a show with the ex-boyfriend that you wrote an entire album about also probably caused some issues, because
Just a little bit.
if you watch that show, Joe, you will appreciate how in season 1 they are in every scene together. That is peak Joshua and Olivia dating. You get to season 2 and they literally have a scene together. And then by season 3 they are on different coasts throughout the show. Like they had to come up with ways to creatively write them away from each other. So I can get it. I can get why dating someone on a hit show could be a bit of a problem. But that High School Musical, the musical, the series drama is not my pop culture promo. I do want to use my pop culture promo to actually talk about something I hated, and
First
and
time.
I think,
First
yeah,
time.
this is the first time, and I think that this was a thing that everybody hated. It was, it was it was a pop culture misstep in a huge way, which unfortunately was Velma. HBO Max did this adult Scooby Doo Velma show, and to refer to it as try hard would be an understatement. Joe, did you watch any of this? Did you give Velma a chance?
No, I haven't. I haven't watched Velma, but like I haven't really watched any animated series since Q Force got canceled on Netflix.
Okay.
But it's funny you should say that because Joshua, my co-host of Fright School, actually really likes Velma.
Yeah, I want it to like Velma. And I watched it to the end. I watched it every single week. I wanted it to be good. It just like here's like my prime example of what I didn't like about Velma. So they introduced the character who is Shaggy. They don't call him Shaggy. They call him by the character's actual real name of Orwell. It's a fun fact for those of you who don't know. Orwell is in fact Shaggy's real birth name. But when they introduce him, he has a line of dialogue where he's just like he's the head of the anti-drug group on
God.
campus. And he's like, because I will never do drugs, not even marijuana. Joe, they repeat that line like 9 times in the entire run of the show. It's like, I get the joke. Like, I get the joke. Yeah. He is a character that has been co-opted as a stoner character. So it's funny that he doesn't do drugs. But the joke was only kind of funny the first time. And when you say it 9 more times, like
it's not getting funnier.
Yeah, like, and that just is how I felt about the writing of Velma. Like, I felt like there was a lot of good ideas. I liked what it wanted to be. I love the idea of a violent, gory, adult Scooby-Doo. I just think that this was like a huge misstep in trying to do it. And it becomes difficult to talk about. It's the same thing that I struggle with when talking about like why I didn't like the female Ghostbusters movie. It has nothing to do with them being female Ghostbusters. It has everything to do with the script wasn't very good. Like I want another one of those movies with a stronger script, because I think that those 4 girls work beautifully. So like I don't want this to be construed as like, well, Matt Kelly doesn't like that they changed the races and ethnicities of all of his beloved Scooby-Doo characters. Like, I don't give a fuck. Do whatever you want with the characters. Just give it a good script. Make it work. But how about you, Joe? Bring some positivity in this world. What is a pop culture moment that you've experienced that you wanna talk about?
Um, I'm gonna revisit something that I'm like can't wait for the new season of it to come out. Heartstopper.
Oh, there we go. All right.
Yeah, Heartstopper. We did it for Fright School on our Patreon. We It was so lovely to like watch this show along with Joshua. Inside joke for me and Matt because Matt has met Joshua, so what that whole experience must have been like, and it was actually quite surprising and fun for the both of us, especially a second rewatch. And I was talking about it with some other friends recently, and thinking about like, yeah, this is like it's not overly it's like it's a sweet film. It's a sweet film. It's a sweet movie, but it's not it is plausible in that like, it's plausible to have a queer teenage coming of age thing that is not solely rooted in like trauma, like gay trauma. So I got to give it up to Heartstopper because it's at the front of my mind lately.
Yeah. All right. There you go. Well, bit of a shorter one this week, Joe, but also not a lot of consequential things happening. I mean, essentially, this entire episode is just to get us to Marissa finding out about Luke having sex with her mom.
Yes.
So I'm sure that will be pretty big chunk of next week's episode. I'm willing to bet. So stay tuned when we find out what happens in the Cooper household fallout now that Marissa is in on what's been going in and out of her mom.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.